Hey friend, welcome back. It's Leann, your human design professional, your BG5 business and career consultant, and hopefully your coach. A couple things that I want to talk about today, and that is unconscious patterns and behaviors. I love human design. If you're here and you're new, you're going to notice that there's 300 plus videos about human design. I love human design in the aspect of this. It simplifies our capacity to interact with each other to a very mechanical view. And when we can just distill it and simplify it and truly operate through our strategy and authority, all of a sudden life becomes really quite simple. However, there's this massive part of us. So I look at this as the iceberg. Human design and the mechanics are just the tip of the iceberg, just the tiny tip. That strategy and authority that sits up there and says, hey, this is really simple. But when you look underneath the level where water's level and you look underneath that iceberg, 95% of our behavior is happening without us even knowing it. This is the unconscious patterns. And this is what Ra would consider our conditioning. And this conditioning truly is the software downloads that we received from other people, mostly from 0 to 7. And this is this saboteur in our life. So let's take a look at this. So how do you know if you're still operating out of conditioning versus allowing for the simplicity of strategy and authority to operate in your life? One, you have goals, but you're not hitting them, even though you're working your ass off. Two, you might arrive at your goal, but you're completely unfulfilled. You have unrealistic expectations of others, yourself, and your goals. And you notice that you can't get past a certain set point when it comes to money or weight or relationships. Okay. So this is how you're going to know if you're still operating out of the conditioning. And this is what I want you to know. And I've said this numerous times on this channel. Conditioning happens through the openness and through the definition. The definition is there and it is we're asked to represent this. I always call it the God code because I feel like you are God, I am God, God is within us all. And it's not something to be revered outside of us. It is something to be embodied and embraced within. So that definition is the God within you. It's your God code that you're asked to represent. However, we take it for granted. Because it's happening inside of us all the time, we take it for granted and then we disregard its capacity for wisdom. We disregard it. And then we start to operate through these unconscious conditioned patterns. Okay. So we usually know something is unconscious when the pressure, there's this pressure sandwich from above and below, and it is driving us because we are attached to an agenda. This is where we outsource our own well-being to having something, having a relationship, having a spouse, having money, having things, having an outside thing, then create the wellness inside of us. So for example, if I had a spouse, I'd be loved. If I earned 100K a year, I'd be free to travel. If I lost the weight, I can get my dream job. All of these different things, it says, if I, then I would. This is how we know we are living out of an unconscious behavior, okay? So how can we bust through these unconscious behaviors? First, I want to give you a couple examples so that you can begin to go, oh, now I see it. So this week I was working with a client And this is where your quote unquote readings, I still have those available. Don't get me wrong. I still have 1 and 2 hour sessions available. But what I'm really moving towards is a coaching package. And this coaching package that I have now opened up for my beautiful people in my community is a 6-month coaching package. Why 6 months? Because at 3 months, we come out of the gate really excited. We're going to hit this goal. We're going to do these things. We're going to have this business. We're going to have this relationship. We're going to lose the weight. We're going to do all these things. We come out of the gate. And we're usually, again, operating out of these unconscious patterns. So we start to really move in a way that's misaligned. It's not aligned with who we are. So then all of a sudden, this doubt and dip starts to happen. We doubt ourselves, we dip down, things get really, it almost looks like the emotional wave, because that's where all of our experiences come from. Whether you have it defined or not, this stuff is happening through you. And then we get to the other side and we feel, oh yeah, we hit the goals, blah, blah, blah. But most of this is unconscious patterns. So again, I'm going to show you some examples. So this week I had a client, and the very first thing that she said was, I want to build my empire from my bedroom, from the safety and security of my bed. Okay. What's going on there? So as we continued on our conversation, what came to light, what came out of the unconscious was this. She had heard a story from her grandfather who indicated that there were times where her mother was banished to her bedroom as a young child. So she acted up, there was any challenges, any of that, the parents would banish her to her bedroom. So of course, my client was an egg in her mother's ovary, which is a conditioned aspect, because now all of a sudden my client now believes that the only place that she can find safety and security is if she retreats to her bedroom. She had this belief system that the only way to build her empire was from the safety and security of her bed. That, my friends, just knowing that, taking that unconscious pattern and bringing it forth into the conscious awareness, now we can work with it. Now we can work with it through mindset. We can work with it through breath work. We can work with it through somatics, feeling all the sensations in the body, integrating all of this, so that now what we can do is place a new pattern in there where safety and security doesn't equal bed and blankets. We can have safety and security equal a webinar packed with people. The other client that I had, he wanted to have a relationship. He was desiring a relationship so much. And he was having lots of relations. However, he would get into the relationship and he would end it every time. He would continuously end it. And he convinced himself that love wasn't for him. So once we started to unpack this suitcase and all these unconscious behaviors, what he started to recognize was this. His parents divorced when he was a young child. And that divorce had him believe that marriage equaled anger, frustration, separation, sexless aspects. There would be no intimacy. There would be no communication. So even though he wanted a marriage, he wanted to embrace a relationship, subconsciously and unconsciously, the pattern said, that's not safe for you. All of that stuff that you want actually is going to create chaos. So it holds him back until he saw it. Then we could, again, do the mindset work and the somatic work to now integrate it and to move forward in a way where the embracing of intimacy begins inside of self, and then the intimacy could happen for him in a different way. So how do you know, or how can you get through some of your unconscious patterns? I'm going to give you a couple hints and tips here today. So if you want to go faster, if you want your, if you want your business to grow faster, if you want your relationships to flourish faster, you have to slow down. And what that does is it brings presence and mindfulness into your reality. Instead of operating unconsciously, and 95% of those behaviors are doing that, now all of a sudden you're mindful. And that mindfulness, what that mindfulness does is it allows you to now recognize strategy and authority. Because I watch people, again, you guys know this, if you've been here for a while, I'm in lots of Facebook groups. And it's very interesting to me to watch how confused people are around strategy and authority. They still can't grasp it. Some of them have been studying it for years and still don't understand their own decision-making process. And that, my friends, is because of the conditioning, because of the layers of unconscious behaviors. So they make a decision, they believe that that decision is from strategy and authority. And yet they find themselves frustrated and bitter and all of these things, that there's still resistance. They're resisting their business. They're resisting the money. They're resisting the relationships that they want. They're resisting the weight loss that they really, truly desire. So being present, bringing in mindfulness and somatic work, and allowing you to close your eyes and get to the insight of what is the unconscious that's holding you back. So here's one question that you can ask yourself to self-coach until you respond or feel invited or get initiated to connect with me and lean deeper into a 6-month program where you can magically transform what's happening in your reality. Here's the question. What do you fear would happen if you really went for your goal? So let's put it in a different way. Let's look at it in a different way. Let's reword it a little bit. If you got your goal, you're afraid that. Play with those two sentences. Play with those two questions. And manifestors, having a question posed to you sometimes can get a little difficult. So look at these as statements. I'm afraid that if I hit my goal, such and such will happen. So reword it, rephrase it for yourself in a statement. And now just wild mind write about it. And see what kind of unconscious connections you can make around why that goal always feels like it's just out of reach. So one of the Zen masters created, Zen Buddha masters, imagined it as this. So imagine you have this pole that's kind of teetering on your head, on the top of your head. And in the front, there is a carrot, but in the back, hanging off of it, is a bag of shit. And what happens is that we unconsciously run away from the bag of shit, which is all of the fears, all of our unconscious patterns. It's all of the downloads, software downloads that we took and believed. So we're running away from that. And we're always running towards this carrot. And because we're doing this, instead of being mindful and allowing for those two to integrate into the self, this dichotomy is happening. And we believe that if we get the carrot, we will have whatever it is feeling that we want to have. But we're running away from the bag of shit because we know that we don't want to feel like that. And yet all of this is happening in a completely unconscious state. 95% of your behaviors of running, hurrying, avoiding, being overzealous, speaking out of turn, chasing inspiration, all of this stuff is happening at a completely unconscious level. And that's, again, why I'm going to say a coaching package, getting a coach, understanding these mechanics is one thing, but having a coach to support you in looking into the deeper dive of who you are and how you've been programmed now allows you to change the software, upgrade the software to the adult reality that you know that you can have. And yet the unconscious child is still saying, hold on a minute. And it's sabotaging you because it has its own software program that it's trying to run in the background. So I'm saying to you, you're invited to do this with me if you choose to do it. Jump on a 6-month package and see the magic of your own playfulness and joy and your own capacity to be really certain about your direction can happen through coaching protocols that go deep to help you move high. All right, friends, everything is in the description below. I look forward to continuing to serve you, and I look forward to honoring who you are, no matter where you are in your reality of life. I can't wait to participate in your growth with you. When you're ready to respond, you feel invited, and you've really made the decision that no longer are you going to let those old software programs run your life. All right, enjoy, take care, and we shall chat again.